Welcome to Orbicle Times Podcast, and hello to everyone, whatever part of the globe you're from or happen to reside in. My name is Kelly Jo, and here we'll provide armchair conversations gathered from interviews and research reviews to explore the seen, the unseen, and the in-between of the supernatural paranormal phenomena, with topics that circle around Spirit Orbs, NDEs, OBEs, UFOs, time slips, mystical moments, higher consciousness, and more. I hope that this cast will be our meeting place and judge-free zone where we can explore, learn, and grow through the telling of. This cast will be launched on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly schedule whenever I'm able to make contact with those in the know for their telling of. Speaking of those in the know and the telling of, have you had mystical moments or other supernatural paranormal experiences? Care to share on this cast? Then consider stepping into the light with your telling of, or send in your monologue for me to read on this podcast. Simply email orbicletimespodcast@gmail.com for a chance to contribute to this cast.
He's an Italian. He's very attractive. I mean, I'm a woman.
And he's a spirit, and who cares?
And who cares? I thought, wow, you're such an attractive man.
In this episode of Orbicle Times, I host, all the way from the Netherlands, psychic and trance medium for over 30 years, Barbara Bandel. Our conversation circles around some of her Clair senses, mystical moments, and don't forget the Ouija board, plus a guided non-fiction work entitled My Most Memorable Psychic Readings and Personal Stories, which describes her discovery of her early abilities with meditations and more. We also touch on a spirit's lengthy visitation with Barbara. Barbara has established her own psychic hotline network called Barbara's Psychic Mediums. But it doesn't stop there. Barbara also offers up a free ebook on developing psychic abilities, which you can acquire, like I did, the book I mean, by visiting her site. She also hosted Blog Talk Radio, where she would receive photos from listeners, usually of a deceased loved one, contact the senders, and then provide a free on-air reading. And so, after a summer off, here we go. Without further ado, let's get on with this interview. And a very warm welcome to you, Barbara Bandel. I so appreciate you agreeing to this conversation.
Hi, Kelly Jo. Oh, I'm so honored. Thank you. That was a lovely introduction.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. It's so nice to finally have this opportunity to speak with you, and I guess yet again, as we did a little chit-chat earlier. So, Barbara, there's so many avenues that I hope that we can explore in this short period of time. I'd like to begin before your beginning, literally. I understand that your birth was foretold via a Ouija board. Could you expand on that?
My parents used to work with a Ouija board. I'm not a fan of Ouija boards. They loved it, and it was very accurate. So some spirit said through the Ouija board to my mother, who had a kidney disease, you're going to get pregnant again. And my mother said, no, that's impossible because I wouldn't survive because I have this kidney disease. And the spirit was very persistent. And well, there I was 9 months later.
You mentioned that you're not a fan of Ouija boards.
No.
Why would that be?
Because there are a lot of spirits who are kind of lost, and they love to play tricks with people, and they see a Ouija board as an entrance. So when you're not so mentally stable, you're easier to be influenced by spirits who are, well, not so pure. I just don't like it.
A thought manifestation, if you will. Do you think that it solely, based on the object that you're using? Or could you have a bottle of water with the same intention, or whatever your intentions are? And I'm going to assume that depending on your intentions, does that then equate to what it is that you can manifest?
Yeah, very true. We have something called in Dutch glaasje draaien, and it means that you put a glass, everyone puts their finger on the glass, and then the glass starts to move. That's the same thing. So I don't think it matters what you're doing. It's just like opening the door to the wrong type of spirit. My father said at one point he didn't want to do it anymore because they were asking serious questions and they got like weird answers and jokes. So I think that was the point when some spirits sensed, okay, we can enter this group of people trying to connect with spirits. Let's just fool them. I don't know exactly what I would do if someone is interested to work with an Ouija board. I would always say, I want protection and I only want contact with the most highest and purest form. And I want all the information filtered by my own spirit guides.
Were either or both of your parents, did they have any psychic abilities that you're aware of?
Yes. They didn't do anything with that, but they had.
Both of them?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? Well, what's your definition of a psychic medium and or a trance medium?
Well, a psychic for me is someone who can hear, feel, sense information. And then a psychic medium is someone who can connect with spirits, with deceased loved ones. And the trance medium is when you lend your vocal cords for spirits to speak through your voice.
What's that like?
It's pretty intense, but I the first time that it happened to me, it felt natural. I think I did it before, maybe in past lives, because somehow I knew, okay, this is exactly how it should feel. It wasn't a surprise. I think you have to, if you want to be like a trance medium who gives readings, you really have to practice a lot because it takes a lot of energy in the beginning, that is.
Was that something that you were practicing at, or did you just find one day that, hey, what the heck just happened?
No, I was at a course, a trance medium course, so I was really eager to be a trance medium. I found it difficult to do in a group. I was feeling a bit ashamed to do trance. I studied with my teacher one-on-one, and that's when I could step over my boundaries and just let it happen.
When did that begin for you, Barbara? That course?
15 years ago. I will always want to see what else I can do. So I was a psychic medium and I love that, but I wanted to see what else can I do.
So Barbara, there seems to have been a day in your life that, well, it turned out to be a pivotal event in terms of what I would say self-realization of your unique abilities. Can you walk us through the day that you were at the police station with your friend?
The day before, we walked home from school and we saw a flasher standing next to his car. He tried to lure us in his car. We went home, we told our parents, so they called the police. So the police asked us to come to the police station and tell them what he looked like. Now, my friend and I, we were interviewed in separate rooms. And so I described him to the police officer, and then he said, would you like to look at some photos to see if you can identify him? I was 7 and I was very focused. I was not scared, but it was my first time in a police station. So I looked up to the police officer like, wow, this is something really unique for me. So I was focused and I was very serious. So the police officer gave me a couple of photos, and I didn't know that when I focus on a photo, I automatically get information about that person. So I got my first panic attack in the police station. I didn't know it was a panic attack, of course, because the photos that I had to look at were all child molesters, pedophiles.
Yeah.
I had no clue people like that existed. So I could see what they were doing. I could feel the darkness of their soul, their evilness. So I was just speechless. I thought something happened to me and I had no control over it because with every photo it got worse. And I said, I want to go home, and I didn't recognize the man we saw the day before. So I went outside and my friend was already waiting for me, and I was so happy to see her. And I asked her, shaking and almost crying out of fear. I said, "Did you see that? Did you see all those things with photos?" And she looked at me and she said, "What do you mean?" And then I thought, uh-oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. Something's wrong with my brain, because I could see she was oblivious about what I just asked her. I felt really alone, and I looked up to her, but at the same time, I knew that I saw what I saw and I felt what I felt.
Was that your first time that you had that experience when you touched a photograph, that you
Yes.
were able to get the impressions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Before that, I just saw, like, in kindergarten, I saw the deceased mother of my teacher, and she was friendly to me. But this was like the opposite. This was evil and looking at photos.
Was there an adult that accompanied you to this station?
And the mother of my friend.
The mother of your friend was there, well, in the room, so that's pretty good.
And she wasn't in the room with the police officer. We had to be there by.
Really? Well, I
Yeah,
guess different times.
I guess
Wow.
so. Yes,
Yeah.
that was in 1974.
Yeah.
Who? The man was even smoking in the.
I bet
in
he
the
was.
room.
Surprised he didn't go for a drink at that time.
Yeah.
Do you know if they ever arrested the subject?
Oh no,
If they ever caught him?
I have no idea, because I didn't recognize him among the photos.
That must have been a pretty traumatic experience to
Yes.
have had those impressions. Did you see them in your mind's eye? Is that how they manifested?
And I heard, so with my ears, with my inner eye, but I think the biggest part, I started with sensing. That's how I started, sensing and seeing. So my sensing was, very developed. So I could sense the energy of these men, and I could hear a boy screaming, "I want to go home."
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
Kelly Joe, that was so horrible. Yeah,
That's pretty traumatic.
yeah, it was.
Did you tell your parents?
No, because I thought I'm crazy. I made this all up, so I didn't tell anyone, and I had trouble sleeping for months and months with nightmares and panic attacks.
Like a PTSD almost.
Yeah, and I think children always think everything's their fault.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm not going to say to anyone, I'm going to pretend this didn't happen.
So you mentioned that before that time, you had another experience when you were younger, seeing, was it a grandmother? And did you see her by touching a photograph when you were in, kindergarten?
Yeah, no, we had to do a drawing of
Oh,
something, and I made a drawing of the school, and then in front of the school was the kindergarten teacher, and next to her was her deceased mother. And I told the teacher, and she rang my parents.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
what happened after that? What did your parents do?
She got upset with the kindergarten teacher, because the teacher said, maybe it's good if you have a Barbara exam, like psychology or
Right.
psychiatrist, something.
Right.
And my mother, she just said everything she thought. She was without any fear.
Good
So
for her.
yeah, she said something in the line like, "Yeah, you go first."
Before that happened, were there other experiences that you had around that time? Psychic experiences, aside from the one that we just discussed? Anything else that
Yeah.
happened when you were younger at that time, whether it was at school or at home or?
I think I was 2 or 3, because I remember I was standing on my little itty mini red chair, a wooden red chair, and I pushed it towards the window, and I had to climb on that chair to look outside. And I saw a V shape of birds flying past the window. And all of a sudden, this V shape turned into a lovely, like angel-like woman. And she looked at me and she smiled at me. And again, I was only feeling at that time that was really strong. So I felt her energy, and it's imprinted in my soul. in my memory. It's just the way she felt was incredible. And then she reshaped back to the V-shaped birds flying somewhere, and then she was gone.
That sounds like a mystical moment, to be sure.
I recognized her. I have no idea where from, but I recognized her and I felt really safe.
Carried that obviously all the way through. Did you ever turn to that memory or, to that experience in times of, distress? Or...
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I would describe her as an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it just pops up in my memory. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of like a warm blanket.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know that around the time of COVID that you penned a nonfiction book entitled My Most Memorable Psychic Readings and Personal Stories.
Yes.
I guess in part encapsulates your last 30 years as a psychic. Before we talk about that, I'm wondering if you could talk about a little bit about the trajectory, I guess, of your psychic career. And then we can explore other specifics about your book, if time allows for today. Before you began to use your gifts professionally, were your family and friends your first, if you will, clients?
Yes. Schoolmates, friends, and a lot of things I kept for myself.
Yeah.
A lot of things that I felt because I didn't feel the need to tell people what I saw. But yes, these were my first clients.
Can you give an example or another example, like what you did, and if there was any tools that maybe you used, or as they say, other mediums, like tarot cards or pendulums?
I didn't need any tools. Like if a classmate saw a nice boy at school, she would ask me, what does he think about me? And I just stepped into his energy, think about him, and feel how he felt about her.
How long did it take you before you realized that your gifts were helping people?
It's helping people is something that I always loved, and I still love it, because otherwise I don't think you can do this work. So when I was younger, like in school, it made me feel important. It was good for my confidence as well. So a bit of an ego thing as well there.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess that is something that maybe, over time you're going to have to acquire, because it does take some confidence to be able to, either go up to somebody or have somebody go to you and say, okay, I need you to tell me if and I bet that's one of the bigger questions, what my love life is going to be like for the next three months. You do have to have some sort of, and that's usually anyways how it manifests, I think, for most people. The ego is involved, whether in the end we go, oh, we shouldn't have ego, a positive ego, I'm going to say. I mentioned in my intro that you worked for a Bob Olson of Afterlife TV that did a psychic line or a hotline.
Exactly.
What did that job encompass for you?
Give me more confidence to talk in another language, to see the images, feel things, hear things in Dutch, and then translate within a couple of seconds. Now it's like nanoseconds. So it really gave me the speed to work with people who don't speak Dutch.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, did you do this work from home over the phone, or did you have to go to Bob's office?
No, that would be nice, flying every week. No, it was remote. Yes.
It was remote. So I guess you're kind of ahead of the curve working from home.
And before that, I was a repeating guest at Blog Talk Radio before I had my own show there. And that made it also easier for me because those readings were for free. So no pressure when I had to take a couple of seconds to translate a word from Dutch to English. So that came first, and that also really helped me to speed up things.
Okay. Was the Blog Talk, was that your first professional psychic gig?
English speaking, yes, it was.
Okay. What kind of work did you have in your native tongue? Was it also on the phone or on TV or?
On TV and on radio, and I did night radio for a long time for Dutch radio, where I had to answer questions live during the broadcast. Okay. Oh, that was so much fun.
Yes.
Yes, it was lovely. It was, Yeah, because it was nighttime and people are different. And
Different.
also a lot of truck drivers who were on the road and then wanted to ask their questions. Yeah, it was lovely. And TV also, and magazines. And then I thought I want to develop, because like I said in the beginning, I always want to see where my boundaries are, how much I can push myself.
Mm-hmm.
So then the invitation from Michael came from Blog Talk Radio.
Well, can you expand a little bit on that, on what you did with or for Mike?
Well, people could call in and then they could ask their question.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he would invite other psychics. And he called it a round table.
Like a tag team.
Yeah, so one client got like answers from 5 different psychics at the same time.
Wow.
Because we were telling the client what we felt or saw. So that was so good. And it's nice to be on the same phone line with other psychics.
Yeah, that would be understandable. I guess because working with your peers, I would imagine that being a psychic, it's kind of a lonely gig. I mean, you have
Yes,
people
it
coming
is.
towards you, but I mean, as far as your peers go, not necessarily are you always in the same room with other psychics.
Exactly.
Yeah. What are the services that can be found at your network, Barbara's Psychic Mediums?
They can find psychic mediums, tarot cards, astrology. I think most people are looking for a psychic medium.
What's the most popular question that you have come across?
Will I ever get a partner?
Love.
Love and work. But I have to say, because I'm old, so in the beginning when I started my
You're 39, Barbara. You're 39,
always,
remember?
forever. In the beginning when I gave readings, compared to the questions people have now, yes, the 2 basic questions are love and work. But the questions about how can I contact my own spirit guide, how can I become a medium myself, that's something, these questions I didn't have in the beginning. So I can really see how people have grown over the decades.
A shift.
And the young ones, my gosh, the young ones, I sometimes speak to people in their 20s. Mm-hmm. They know everything about spirit guides. They know everything about manifestations. Things when we were in our early 20s, we never heard of that, or maybe sometimes, but not really like the young ones do now. And I think that's so beautiful.
And you imagine trotting off to the library and looking up spirit guides and manifestation. So in part, of course, the internet has played a significant role, good and bad. I do have a question in regards to if you have any self-imposed ethics or standards in terms of your hotline and or your related services.
We are very aware of the responsibility we have, especially when you want to know the future. Mm-hmm. So people who work on the line, they have years and years of experience. And I always want people only working for me when they know that they have to be responsible and kind. Mm-hmm. Being kind is so important, even if the question may seem odd for anyone. Being kind and being understanding. So yeah, I have very kind and professional people working on my line. And if they don't get an answer, or if they don't want to answer because it's like about death or health, they will tell so honestly. We can warn someone because they're driving too fast, or can warn someone, we will. Mm-hmm. We never answer a question like, when am I going to die? We won't answer questions about health.
In terms of, oh my gosh, they have to go in. They should go in and get a checkup on their kidney. I got to tell them that. Of course. Is that permissible?
Yes, that is, because I made the agreement with my guides. If I can warn someone, like you said, go check out your kidney or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know,
Mm-hmm.
and I will tell my client. When it's fate, even if I tell them, and there's nothing that can be done about it, I won't tell them, and I don't want to hear it.
Right. Their contract is up.
Yes.
Do you have any rituals in terms of prepping prior to and or after a reading? And I mean a reading, whether over the phone or in person.
Yeah, I always do a short meditation. I close my eyes and I ask the highest form, my spirit guides, to guide me, to protect me. And I don't know why, but I like to wash my hands after a reading.
Why do you think that is?
Maybe washing off the energy. I don't know. Even if I don't touch anyone, of course, but I like to wash my hands.
Has there been a reading that's affected you deeply, either positively or negatively? Is there one that sort of stands out that you can talk about?
The one that stands out is about the firefighter who got killed on 9/11.
Yeah.
That's the one who stands out because it took years. He visited me for years.
Can you expand on that? Yeah.
Yes, in the beginning, I thought he was Dutch. Why? Because deceased loved ones, spirits, they talk the language of the medium. So, and at that time, when the firefighter from New York visited me, I had only Dutch clients.
Okay.
So, and it was very normal for me that spirits would come and visit me like days or weeks before reading about that spirit. So I thought, oh, what a lovely man. And he put on his helmet. And I thought, well, someone will come for a reading about him, like maybe tomorrow or within a month. But no one came. And he came like every 4 weeks or 5 weeks. And then suddenly, after many months, he started to talk to me. He said his first name and he started to talk to me. But like I said, they talk the language of the medium.
Wow. So they don't use Google Translator then?
Yeah, so and we work with mind, like telepathy. At one point, he told me so much about himself. I thought I have to write this down, otherwise I forget. And I wrote it down and I thought, okay, once maybe his wife will come for a reading or relatives, I can go to my office, get the notes that I've written down and hand them to his relatives. No one came. I thought that was weird, but I thought, well, maybe, what's weird in my profession, I thought. Someone will come eventually. And then he said to me one day, like everything he said to me made sense. I thought he was living in the Netherlands and died somewhere in a fire together with other colleagues in the Netherlands. So I suddenly understood everything he told me, but he never got explicit when and where.
Okay. And how did he first manifest himself to you? Like, were you washing the dishes? There he was.
Yeah, for instance, or blow drying my hair.
Okay.
Things.
I was going to say, were you in the bathroom? But I thought, no, I better not go there.
I wouldn't like that. I really want some privacy, please.
Okay.
No, but when my mind is blank, like vacuum the house or the dishes or blow drying my hair, then my mind is blank. So then he was standing like an arm's length away from me. I saw him like from head to hips.
Okay.
That's how I usually see spirits. Sometimes the spirit is really proud of their shoes, or they want to show their entire dress. And then I can see them like full body, but I saw him like from head to hip.
Wow. Is that solid or can you see through them?
No, it's see-through.
It's see-through.
Yeah.
In color?
Sometimes it is in color, yes.
Yeah. So how long did these visitations occur for?
Years.
From the firefighter?
Yes.
Wow.
Years. And I grew so fond of him because I was imagining, especially when he told me of 9/11, I thought, I know exactly where I was that day on September 11th. And every time from the moment he started to talk to me, a couple of sentences, he always said, tell my wife how much I love her. And I thought this must have been so horrible for her. And he's a very attractive man, by the way. He's an Italian. He's very attractive. So, I mean, I'm a woman.
And he's a spirit, and who cares?
And who cares? I thought, wow, you're such an attractive man.
The duration, how long did that last? And you had mentioned that it had lasted a few years, which, wow, that's no wonder you grew fond of him.
Of course, his energy, he was warm and kind. You could not love him.
Did he give you his first name?
Yes, he did.
Can you share his first name?
For legal reasons,
okay,
I cannot.
That's why I asked.
Could. Oh, I wish I could.
Yeah. Okay. And he was a firefighter, and he died in 9/11. Barbara, would you be up for a part 2 for this interview so that we can discuss the origins of your book, some of the memorable moments within that book, and topics covering your experiences with ghosts and guides and spirits? And of course, I don't want to forget, you're not one but 2 OBEs. Would you be up for that?
Yes, I would love to.
Before we close this conversation, do you have any words of wisdom that you can provide to the listeners?
One of the best things you can give yourself. It doesn't have to be every day, and meditation can also be done when you're just walking in nature or staring out the window, looking at clouds. But your mind being blank is when the spirit guides can reach you. So when you're overthinking, just do nothing and do something to get your mind clear, because then you're in connection with your own guides.
And on that note, too, for the listener, we will be covering in a future conversation or conversations what guides are and where they come from and who has them and what language do they speak. And I think Barbara already answered that. Barbara, would you like to leave your contact information, which I'll also post on my website, and it will give people a taste of where they can get your ebook, how they can order your My Most Memorable Psychic Readings and Personal Stories, and also connect with your hotline if that's what they so desire to do.
It's my website is Barbara with A's, 3 A's, themedium.com, and there you can find my free ebooks and the link to the hotline, the link to my book. And I am also developing a course, mediumship. I'm almost finished, done with it, because I really want to get it perfect. So you can read about information about that too. It's barbarathemedium.com.
Okay, and again, I'll post it on my website, and that's orbicaltimes.com. So Barbara, thank you for contributing to this cast through your telling of. I really appreciate the time that you've set aside to share in your telling of your soul's purpose, or some of your soul's purpose, on this cast. And either way, many thanks to you, Madame.
My pleasure.
Since you told his wife, the fireman, did you ever see him after that?
One more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish I could tell his name.
Yeah, okay. They could, yeah. We'll leave it at that then, Barbara.
Well, thank you so much I enjoyed it so much, and
me too.
It flew by.
Yeah, it did. And it's going to again. I would like to keep this cast a commercial-free zone. In light of that, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channels. All my orb videos are available by using the handle @Spirit Orbs Sightings, or visit my new channel with the handle @Orbicle Times Podcast. If you've already subscribed, many thanks. For blogs, episodes, show notes, bios, images, and video, please visit www.orbicaltimes.com. If you enjoyed an episode, then please give a like or a share on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, or whatever podcatcher you happen to use. If you've already done so, much appreciated. Thank you for taking your time to visit these Orbicle Times. Orbicle Times Podcast is written, produced, edited, and hosted by me, Kelly Jo, at Studio Spare Room.